I want to officially welcome everybody to webinar number 3 in our Baby Steps into Electroacupuncture series, where we're featuring different really accomplished super practitioners that are showing us kind of their favorite, really simple ways to get started. The idea is to take the fear and the overwhelmingness out of electroacupuncture and give you concrete steps that you can take tomorrow in your clinic. So tonight, I am pleased to welcome as our guest host, Dr. Kenzi Dawson-Agnew, who is a practitioner in Canada. She's very accomplished. She's got a thriving practice and is an all-around dynamic and amazing superstar person. If you've been around Meridian Technology at all, then you know Dr. Kenzi. And so super excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited. Okay, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen here, get my slides up.
I've got your screen. Just waiting for your slides.
Where are they?
You might have to click there to exit full screen and then show again.
There we go. Okay, let's share. Okay.
Looking good. All right.
Pull up okay on there?
Yep, all yours.
Let's get this up. Perfect. Well, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Kenzi and welcome to Baby Steps to Electroacupuncture. I am so excited to be here with Meridian Tech and to walk you through how I use electrical acupuncture in a super simple, down-to-earth way, especially for digestion. If you've ever felt like electro is a little intimidating or not your thing, this webinar is 100% for you. We're keeping it light, friendly, and very real. Just the basics in a way that actually fits into your practice. So a little bit about me. I am a doctor of acupuncture and I run the Human Experience Clinic here in Calgary, Canada. My work is focused on helping people optimize their health, whether that's through supporting hormones, digestion, nervous system regulation, or just helping people feel more energized and in tune with their bodies. In my clinic, I blend acupuncture with functional tools. I run lab testing for hormones and IgG food testing to really get a full picture of what's going on in the body. So let's get into the basics. What is electroacupuncture really? And this is a definition that really hit home when I was doing a little bit of reading of what's the actual definition. So the definition is using gentle electrical stimulation to enhance acupuncture's effects. That's it. It's not a whole new modality. It's just an add-on. It's there to enhance what acupuncture is already doing. And I found that quite fascinating because I always thought acupuncture and electroacupuncture were almost a very separate entity. In this field, I know it's so easy to feel like you're not doing enough, like you should be adding more, learning more, because there's so many amazing research and tools out there. But today I want to remind you that what you're doing is already so powerful. You don't need a million bells and whistles. You can keep things simple and still get incredible results. So I use electro really selectively when things feel stuck, mostly in digestive conditions that need a little extra push. If regular acupuncture is working great, I don't add more just for the sake of it. And I want to say this clearly, you don't need to use electro every day to be a great practitioner. What you're already doing is effective. This is just another tool in your toolbox, not a requirement. So this slide here really sums up how I work in the clinic. You'll see the biggest chunk here is Accugraph suggested protocols. That's because I love data. Accugraph gives me a clear visual guide to what's happening energetically in the body, and I use that to decide how I'm going to treat. From there, with the suggested points from Accugraph, I either needle those points or I use laser, depending on the patient and what they're comfortable with. I love that I can adapt to it. Then the other chunk there, about the 11%, I layer in some herbs or lifestyle shifts when it's needed. Maybe some nervous system regulation, blood sugar support. Again, super simple, nothing overwhelming. Then you'll see the little tiny chunk there. That's electro. That's the smallest slice of my pie. Only about 5% of my cases. It's not something I use every day, but when digestion is stuck or things aren't shifting, it's an amazing tool to have in your back pocket. So here is when I do use it. Number one is when digestion feels stuck or sluggish. This is your classic slow gut scenario. Maybe they're not pooping regularly, or they just feel heavy and stagnant, and no matter what they eat, they just feel that kind of that guh feeling. Secondly is when bloating isn't budging. Even after we've cleaned up the diet, removed food sensitivities, if herbs and lifestyle tweaks haven't been helpful, then this is a great time to add in electro. Next is with constipation, especially if it's chronic constipation. So days, months, years, they have not been having regular bowel movements. This is where I'll use electro to gently stimulate the meridians involved in the motility of the intestines. And finally, the other way I use a electrostim is when the other modalities aren't working as expected. So the patient's been coming in and we've done some good acupuncture, some good nutrition, good herbs, and still things aren't clicking. That's when I layer in some electro as the nudge that the body might need. So let's talk about when I don't use it, because this is just as important as knowing when to use it. First off, if the patient is already improving, I don't touch it. I'm not trying to overcomplicate something that's working. If the needles are doing their job, amazing. No need to layer on more. Second, if the patient is super sensitive, and that's meaning energetically, emotionally, physically, their nervous system, I usually avoid electro, especially at the beginning. I might bring it in later once we've built trust and regulation, but I don't rush it. Next, if I'm unsure about a case or just want to keep things very simple, I trust that instinct that I have. There's no reward for using every tool you got in just one sessions. Some patients just need the basics. Oh, and then the last one being, of course, contraindications. So let's talk about the tool that I use for electroacupuncture. This is the Pointo Select Digital. While it's commonly used for auricular ear therapy, today I want to talk about how I use it directly on body points with the probe, not even using needles. The Pointo Select Digital has a probe that allows for precise point location and delivers electrical stimulation gently, directly to the point. This means I can provide effective electroacupuncture treatments without inserting needles, which is great for patients who are needle adverse or when I want to keep the treatment very, very simple. The device offers various preset frequencies, including Nogier, bar, and Renninger frequencies, allowing me to tailor the treatments to the patient's needs. So if you're looking to incorporate electroacupuncture into your treatments, the Pointo Select Digital offers a really versatile option. So this slide outlines the Renninger bar frequency that I use in my practice. This is actually built into the Pointo Select Digital. Each meridian is associated with a specific frequency based on the idea that every organ system has an optimal vibrational resonance. These frequencies were determined through bioenergetic research and are thought to normalize and regulate energetic flow within each channel. So as I give an example coming up here, we're going to walk through how I actually do it and what that looks like. But kind of for an overview, I base the patient's acugraph scan from then how I'm going to do my treatment. So for example, if the scan highlights a large intestine or stomach deficiency or excess, I'll select the frequency associated with that meridian. So if it's large intestine showing high, I'm going to pick the frequency for the large intestine. If it's stomach that's excess, I'm going to pick the frequency for stomach and apply it directly to those body points using the probe. So this creates a more targeted and evidence-informed approach where I'm combining objective data from the acugraph with a frequency-specific stimulation. So here is step one. Step one is the graph. I use the Accugraph system at the start of every session. It gives me a quick and clear picture of which meridians need support. The scan shows me which systems are out of balance. Maybe the large intestine is low, maybe the stomach is excess, and that's what helps me decide where I should be treating. If I'm using electro with the point of select, I'll match the frequency to the meridian that shows up imbalanced in the graph. That way, I'm not guessing, I'm using what the body's already telling me. So this would be the patient's graph that we're going to be working with today. This patient is coming in with chronic constipation. And so looking at this graph, you could target it and you could tackle it in millions of different ways, from divergent channels and lows and excess, and there's millions of ways you can target it. That's one amazing thing with acupuncture, is that there's not really a right or wrong way to approach it. I'm going to show you today, though, a very basic way to approach this using a very gentle form of electrostim. So step 2, once I've graphed patient, I head down to the bottom of the screen where that red arrow is right there, and I select the basic treatment points that are suggested by the Accugraph. So these suggested points are the sedation and tonification points of the affected meridian. The suggested points are automatically tailored to balance the meridians that showed up as imbalanced. So it's personalized without being overwhelming. And this is what I base my electrical treatments on. So again, the points that show up with that basic button are going to bring up the tonification and sedation points of the affected meridians. So I'm going to get Dr. Adrian on here to help us see how we set up the point of select to get this bar frequencies that we are talking about. So we have little instructions here that you can take a screenshot of or take a picture of, but I'm going to have Dr. Adrian come on and walk us through how to get our devices into that state.
Yeah, glad to show that. I've got my point of select here, and I'm just going to do it on camera. Maybe you should stop the screen share for a minute so that my picture will be a little bigger on people's screens and they can kind of see what I'm doing. And then
Perfect.
share again.
There we
Perfect.
go.
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, so right here, I'm hoping that that's showing. I know there's a lot of reflection in it, but it says M auto, and then there's a little picture of an ear. Hopefully you're all seeing that, and that's kind of the default state for the point of select. That means it's in, sorry, just turned off. That means I'm in point location mode. It's automatically going to detect tonification or sedation, and it's set up for the ear. Now, the first thing you wanted me to show was how to set up for body, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you push the M button that says mode, and I have M auto ear, and then I have M manual ear. Oh, sorry, I was pushing the wrong button. I'm doing this backwards because I'm looking at a screen doing it. It's the E button. So M auto ear. I push the E button again and it says Geo. That's gold. That means it's only going to find points that need tonification or gold treatment. In the old school, you know, gold tonifies and silver sedates, right? So gold, push E again. Now it says SI. That's for silver. That means it's looking for points that need sedation. And I push E one more time and see the little picture of the body appeared. And so now it is in body mode. And now from there, I can locate and treat body points. And then you wanted me to show how to get to the different frequency sets, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I'm pushing the M button. So I go M, and now it shows what I'm going to be doing in my stim mode. It changed to S. So S is my stim mode. And from here, I can push the E button, which is editing that stim mode. And so doing this backwards again, it went to intensity. It's showing my 74 volts. I push E again, and it says N-C. You know what that stands for, don't you, Dr. Kenzi?
Yes, that's the Nogier. So I love those, but I want to get to the R-1 section. That's the frequency
Correct.
that I'm going to go off of.
Yeah, so the Nogier frequencies we typically associate with auricular, but you're wanting to get to the R or Reininger frequencies. And
Yeah.
so Now that I've got the N showing up for Nogier, I just drop right down here to the plus and minus. And I'm going to push plus, and it changes to the next one, which is B. That's bar, B-A-H-R, the bar frequencies. That's a different set of frequencies. I push it again, and now I'm in the R, and I'm in R2. The R2 frequency is 43.2 hertz.
Yeah.
Which frequency do you want to get to?
We can just we can stay there. Yeah, that's
Oh,
totally.
okay,
I just wanted to
great.
see kind of
The
how
only
that.
thing I was going to show is
Yeah,
that by changing, once you're in the R set, then you go to the other plus and minus under the frequency, and that's what changes them.
perfect. Yeah.
So this side, when you're in S and when you're in the frequencies, that's how you can change. And then, so if you have a set that you like, so I'm in the Reininger set, and that's where I left it. Now when I push the stim button on my probe, which is the yellow button, you can see that it's stimming, it's in R2, and I can change those on the fly while stimming. R3, R2, R1. So is that clear? Did that help?
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember years ago seeing a video of you and Dr. Kimberly, and you actually were walking through that as well. So I know that there are other videos out there on the MeridiaTech site that if people want to know kind of how to get to that setting, there's like a clear video of kind of step by step how to get to those settings.
Yeah,
Um,
close up with push this, push this. We walk
yeah,
you through. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, very like kind of straightforward. Okay, we'll go back to the slides. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. So yes, here we'll get this playing again. This is also going to kind of show you a step, in my words, kind of step by step, how you do what Dr. Adrian just showed us how to do by getting your kind of default mode Punto Select into this Reininger bar frequency that we're going to be working on today. So once you get it figured out, it actually is quite simple. A couple little clicks and you're there. But at first it feels like a lot with kind of the mode and the edit. But there's lots of good resources on the MeridiaTech website to help us be able to figure out how exactly to get there. So for our next step, so we've done the accugraph, we've picked our basic treatment points that show up at the bottom. Next, we are going to treat this patient. So let's walk through how we treat them. So, perfect. Okay. So here is an example of how I actually use this in the clinic in this exact case. So this patient's accugraph showed a significant deficiency in the lung meridian. Both sides were low. So I scrolled down to the suggested points and saw that lung 9 was recommended. And that's what's circled there in the chart. Lung 9 is a great tonification point and it's really easy to access. Next, I looked at the bar, so like that, like the graph that I have up there, the chart, and I saw that the lung meridian resonates at 6.44 hertz. So that's the frequency I selected on the point to select. So as you can see in the little picture there, it's going to say R-1, and that 1 is on the chart where it says 6.44 in lung. That's the frequency I'm going to treat lung 9. It's that simple. I then apply the probe directly to lung 9, holding for about 5 to 10 seconds on each side, and that's it. It's super quick, super easy, and you don't need to overthink it. For the next point then, as we can see here, we have triple energizer. So the point that was suggested is T10. So same thing, we go to our point of select and we're going to shift it into R10, which you can double check in the bottom right-hand corner and it says 5.72 hertz. That's perfect for the triple energizer. And then we'll take that probe and we're going to do TE10 on the left side, 5-10 seconds, TE10 on the right side, 10 seconds. Okay. Now we're going to the next point that our graph suggests, and it is the spleen meridian. So we'll go down to our point of select, put it in R4. That's the 5.48, the frequency of the spleen, and we're going to do spleen 2. So left side for 5 seconds, right side for 5 seconds, and that's it. Now, as you can see from the pattern, we have one more here. We have our stomach channel. So same thing, we're going to use stomach 45 and we're going to go down and look on the chart, and that is going to be R3. Double checking in the bottom, it's 3.68 hertz, and that is the frequency of the stomach. Therefore, I'm going to treat both sides of stomach 45 for 5 to 10 seconds. That is it, okay? That, what you just did, is enough to make massive shifts for somebody. If all you take away from today is run your accugraph, pick basic points, match the frequency to the meridian, and treat for a few seconds on each side, that is enough. That is a complete and impactful treatment. You don't always need to have 12 points or 2-3 different devices or an entire new protocol system. Just a simple, consistent way to support the body. And trust me, that's what makes the biggest difference. So here it is an example of one of my favorite patients recently. When this patient came in on January 5th, they were having a bowel movement once a week. You can see the graph, tons of red, lots of high stress on the system, especially in that large intestine and triple warmer. I started using the point to select on the basic suggested points from Accugraph, matching it to the frequency of the meridian, and just for a few seconds on each point with the probe, and look at the differences in it. By January 20th, she was having a bowel movement every 2 days. And by January 31st, she was having a daily bowel movement. You can see that her graph normalized dramatically, less excess, more regulation, and way more green across the board. This wasn't from an intense protocol. We didn't overhaul her life. It was just basic support using the right frequency in the right places based on what her body showed us. And that is the beauty of this type of protocol, is it's a small step, small little protocol, but really, really massive shifting. So if that's all that you take from this webinar, that is enough. It is a really good way to start using electricity in your practice, keeping it very basic. And I'm a big believer that basic is very, very effective. I've always said that whenever you feel things are kind of crazy and you don't know what to do, go back to the basics. If it's deficient, we tonify. If it's excess, we sedate. The basics really do work. So that's kind of the gist of everything, but I want to give you a few extra points that I've personally found to be really effective in clinic, especially when used in conjunction with the points that come up on the Accugraph. So these kind of added in points right now aren't meant to override the graph, but I've noticed that when you add them in to the graph points that are suggested, it can really enhance the treatment, especially for certain digestive cases. So let's walk through protocol number 1. This is for constipation. As always, I start by treating the basic suggested points from Accugraph with the right frequency. So I'd use the stomach frequency for stomach 25 and triple energizer frequency for TE6. Do the same ones that the graph suggested, and then add in these 2 points using the same frequencies. So if constipation is a main concern, adding in, stomach 25, TE6, these 2 points are my go-tos when motility is sluggish. Stomach 25, it really regulates the intestines and is great for relieving abdominal fullness. And then TE6 is awesome for moving qi through the intestines. So again, treating the suggested points with the correlated frequencies, and then doing the same thing with stomach 25 and TE6. These extra protocols are going to be on a handout afterwards, so don't feel like you have to memorize all of them today. The next one, which is bloating. This is one of my favorite bonus points to add when I'm working with patients who experience bloating, especially the kind that feels very heavy, puffy, or like they're holding on to water. Spleen 9 is the Hussey point of the spleen channel, and it is classically used to resolve dampness. And from a Chinese medicine perspective, a lot of bloating, especially when it's soft, swollen, or comes with loose stools, is related to damp accumulation in that middle burner. So by stimulating the spleen 9 on top of the points in the graph, we're supporting the body's natural ability to move and clear fluids, reduce stagnation, and promote smoother digestion. Then we have our third protocol, And this one's really huge. I see it all the time. Patients come in with bloating, cramping, reflux, constipation that always flares up during stressful times. In these cases, I treat the suggested Accugraph points as usual, but then I add in two of my favorite points for calming the gut-brain axis, Heart 7 and Stomach 36. Heart 7, it helps regulate the Shen and calm the nervous system. And Stomach 36 is not only strengthening digestion, but also helps ground that anxious energy that's disrupting the gut. So this is my go-to for patients who say, my stomach is a mess when I'm anxious, or I can't digest when I'm feeling overwhelmed. The fourth protocol that I found is adding in Stomach 37 when there's diarrhea. So when loose or urgent stools are the main concern, this is when I'll add in that point. Stomach 37 is a go-to for me for regulating intestinal movement and helping bring things back into balance. It's especially helpful when things are very too fast, too frequent, or even linked to inflammation. So all of these add-on protocols are in the handout, but remember that you're going to be treating the basic graph, how it shows up, and then you're just going to add in this point like a bonus point. So honestly, that is the basics to electroacupuncture. I'm very happy you got to hang out with me tonight. I hope what you're walking away with is this. You don't need to do it all to make a big impact. You can keep it very simple, use tools that you already have, and still help your patients feel better in a very big way. Electroacupuncture doesn't have to be complicated. Just pair your acugraph with the point of select, use the right frequency for the meridian, and keep your treatments focused and intentional. If you try any of these protocols, I would really like to hear how it went for you.
Excellent, excellent presentation, Dr. Kenzi. Thank you so much. Uh,
Welcome.
I'll tell you, the thing I really was impressed with was that you did keep it simple, that you had these bonus points, that you had a technique, not 17 techniques, and
Mhm.
and the technique is super simple. If it's low, you're going to use tonification point. If it's high, you're going to use sedation point, and you're
Yeah.
going to use the frequency that matches the meridian. Did I get it?
Yeah, that is literally it. Very basic. And you don't have to be, because when I first started in electroacupuncture, I jumped in at level 400 and it actually turned me away from it. And I wouldn't do it because I thought I was going to hurt somebody. There was so much information and it was all, felt very opinion based. People give you different ideas. And I just I felt very defeated for a while. And then I slowed down, went back to the basics and thought, what the heck? The basics really do work. And then I figured I want to use this electrical device of some sort. And so I found the point of select, found that it was very easy to use, able to control, very comfortable for the patient to use as well. And I added that in with my Accugraph and the results amazing. They felt so juvenile, like the protocols felt so juvenile, but the results were incredible. And then I figured I don't need to have all of these elaborate protocols and systems and devices. You can just do the basics. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really like this to be a good baby step, a good beginner intro of how to get into the world of electroacupuncture. And from here, the world is yours. There's tons of options and unlimited things to learn.
I love it. I love it. Well done. Thank you for breaking it down because I feel like there are so many of us that really just want something that refreshing and that easy and say, wait a minute, I can do that. I can do that tomorrow morning, you know? And so thank you for that. We've got questions here. And this is the time, everybody. First of all, I'll give out a couple of links here because there are things that people are asking, and then get your questions in the Q&A. We're going to start going through them. But one question that was asked was, where do we get the replays of the first two Baby Steps webinars? And so I put the link up there. It's in the Q&A under the answered. And so look for that. And of course, the replay of Dr. Kenzi's will be up there shortly. And then we also have a fourth installment that's coming, and that's where it will live. So with that, if you have access to the questions, Dr. Kenzi, you want to just start going through them?
Okay, I will. Okay, so Dr. Kenzie, what kind of doctor are you again? I'm a doctor of acupuncture. Yeah. Nothing different to do when tonifying versus dispersing. No, so that's where the points that Accugraph suggests, they are going to be the point that is going to do the tonification. So if I were to needle those points, I would add in some techniques to tonify those points or to sedate them. But with the electrical impulse, the body knows what to do. And so by giving them that impulse, the body knows what to do with that electricity. So I don't do anything different with tonifying or dispersing.
But if to add to that, so if you're treating the tonification point, you're just going to treat it, it's going to tonify. And if you're
Yeah,
treating
yeah,
the sedation
exactly. Already
point, you're just
tonifying.
going to
Yeah,
treat it, it'll do its job.
yeah, yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
Cool.
If you're using the Pointo as an unipolar for the body, right, and no needles. So I kind of how I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, most of the time I'm needling and using laser. I'm using them tons and tons and tons. But the small percentage of time that I add in electro, it's when things just aren't moving and I need that extra kind of that extra little push. And so I'll actually not do needles in that treatment. I will just do the electrostim with the Pointo Select, no needles. So I use the needles constantly, but for when I'm using electro, I don't use needles and electro together. Okay, what about those of us who don't have Accugraph, which is a very good question. So there's, I guess, a few different ways we can go about this, but I would say even from your diagnosis, you can make up a plan and pick points that you've learned through your schooling and your training and find those sedation points and find those like tonification points, and you can still use them with your point of select. It just aren't necessarily going to be the ones that the meridians in this now are showing in live time with the Accugraph.
And I'll throw in the other answer. If you don't have Accugraph, well, we can help you with that.
Yeah.
Hit
Accugraph
us up, we'll get you one.
Accugraph has been the best tool that I've ever had. And it's like my go-to. Like I use my brain constantly, but it's like my second-hand man. And it just shows me so much and it helps create that effective treatments because I don't have to guess. I just know exactly what the body's asking for in that moment.
Love it.
Kelsey said, thank you. It was so good to hear that this is enough. Sometimes it does feel overwhelming with the need to just keep adding more needles. Keep it simple. Thank you for that. You're very welcome. When you say use the suggested points, do you needle the suggested points bilaterally? Yeah, so I do both sides. So if it says lung 9, I'll do lung 9 on the left and the right. When using the stim on the body points, with the Pointer Select probe, is the intensity brought down to 0 between each point, then increased to where the patient starts to feel it? Apologies if this was covered. So I have mine, I don't know about you, Dr. Adrian, I keep mine at 20.
Hmm.
20 seems to be a really good voltage when I am stimulating. And with the device, which is really amazing, is that in live time, while you're stimulating the patient, you can use these dials to turn that down and turn that up. And so I found that for body points, 20 seems to be a really good range. You feel like a little buzzing sensation, but it's not too sharp, not too pinchy. But if patients are feeling that, I turn it up or turn it down. I kind of adjust it.
And thanks for that. That's a perfect answer. And I'll add just a little bit of a funny story. When we first started experimenting with the point of select, because trivia, I got one of these many years ago, didn't know what I had, didn't understand how to use it, put it on a shelf, and years later, Dr. Kimberly Thompson said, "Hey, you ought to check out this thing called the point of select." I said, "Oh yeah, I got one of those. I don't know how to use it." So I was trying to figure it out, and I thought I had figured it out, and so I was doing a simple demo video and I was using a staff member here, and I had it on the ear, and I think it was at 120 volts or something. And I found a point, and I hit the button, and she's like, just holding on for dear life, trying not to scream because I didn't know what it was capable of. And so, long story short, and the ear, the skin at the ear is really thin.
Yeah.
Body skin is quite a bit thicker. But all of that to tell you this: 20 volts is generally pretty safe. You're generally not going to do what I did to my staff member by hitting them with something. They're like trying not to scream. But also, they don't have to feel it for it to work. And I want to make sure people are clear on that because so many times they think they've got to turn it up until the patient gets a buzz or, it says ow, and then they turn it down. But the body will respond to microscopic currents. Think about how your cells communicate. It is, subclinical, subsensory. And so if they don't feel it, you're still good. So that's what I love about 20 volts. Even if they don't feel anything, it's going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, the demographic in my clinic, it's a lot of like deficient patients who are very sensitive. They have like sensitivity to textures. And so for them to feel sensation, it actually gives them anxiety. And so I have it at just a low enough amount that they don't feel anything, but it's making massive differences. So they leave feeling comfortable and they've had an amazing treatment.
Yep.
Okay. And do you needle and then stimulate since I didn't get the idea you're needling? So no, I mainly don't even use this protocol. In my practice day to day, I graph and then I'll either laser and or needle. And laser, I mean, I use the MeridiaTek, the blue and the red lasers to either stimulate or sedate. And that's kind of my bread and butter. I do that all the time. Adrian's going to show you. Those are the exact lasers that I use all day, every day, whether it's on kids, on needle areas that I don't want to needle because I don't want to puncture a lung or whatever. I use those constantly. And then in very slim circumstances when things aren't budging and it's usually digestive related, that's when I bring in this protocol. Stacy said, thank you so much. It helps me a great deal to know that it's just fine to use EA in combo with what I already do. Yes. And I feel like there's not much information out there that gives you that feedback saying what you're doing is already enough. You don't have to keep taking more courses and learn different things. You can be really good at the things you already are doing. Can I do the same treatment with my older Accutron? It's been sitting in my closet. What do you think, Adrian?
Accutron is a classic device. It is old school. It's been around a long time. I have a great deal of respect for Dr. Darren Starwin and the Accutron. I assume it's an Accutron mentor. Can you tell I'm an equipment nerd? Sorry. Yeah, you can do this. You can do this with your Accutron. Absolutely. It's kind of a bigger tabletop sort of a device and so on. But yeah, and if you need something smaller and more convenient, the only thing is that the Accutron doesn't have the integrated frequencies that you were demonstrating, Dr. Kenzi, where it's specific frequencies per meridian, the
Okay.
Reininger frequencies that are built in. And I think that's a real benefit of the Point of Select is that those are just built right in.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Okay, next one, cataracts protocol. I don't have a specific one.
And since you were kind of focusing on digestion tonight,
Yeah,
that may be a little bit out of the scope of what you were going to do. However, there are good electroacupuncture protocols for cataracts out there. You can Google
yeah,
them. I've seen them, and it's generally treating points around the eyes.
yeah,
So check that out. See what you can find.
yeah. In my practice, I really just mainly use it for digestion. Um, when do you use laser versus needles or electro, and do you use both red and blue? So when I use, okay, so difference between needles and laser for me is again talking about those very deficient patients who are very sensitive. For them, even putting a needle in gets them revved up. And so if I'm going to cause more of a sympathetic response, more of a fight or flight response by putting a needle in someone, even very gently, forget it. I will just do laser. Whatever I can do to have them be as calm as possible, because when you're in that parasympathetic, when you're in that resting state, that's when you heal and you'll actually absorb and take on that treatment. And so if I find that they're anxious, they came in, they're hustle and bustling, I'll usually just do laser. Same thing with kids. I mainly do laser. And then points that are kind of pinchier, more painful points, I'll also use laser. And with the laser, I pull up the Accugraph, I have the basic on there, and I will tonify with the red laser a deficient graph. And then I will use with the excess graph, I'll take the blue laser and I will sedate that point, if that makes sense. And then when I use electro, that's just for really stuck situations, especially with digestion.
Quick
Okay.
point. Just I put a link to lasers in the chat. I'm not aware. Can people see chat? I'm not sure. Somebody in the questions let us know if you're able to see the chat. But I did put links to pointoselect.com where you can check out the Point of Select, accubeam.com where you can check out the lasers. And if I need to put those elsewhere, then somebody let me know. Thanks. Go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this one's more for you. Can I use Stim Plus Pro also?
Yeah, Stim Plus Pro. Now, the Stim Plus Pro really only has a couple of frequencies, and so you won't get those specific frequencies that are, the Reininger ones that are meridian specific. But yes, can you stimulate with a Stim Plus Pro and do a basic stimulation of, say, a tonification point or a sedation point? Yes, you can.
Perfect. Did you try the classic TCM before or did you use the point of select with this patient? How many treatments do you use with the classic TCM before you determine that it's not working? So the patient that I showed you, that was just a straight up case study for using point of select for constipation. I did not put a single needle in them. That the 3 graphs you saw was just with point of select, and that was 3 treatments in total. So kind of 2 before the final graph. Oftentimes intuitively, I kind of feel, is this person going to have resistance to needling? Are we going to be able to shift it? Or have they been constipated for 10 years? Or do they come from a lineage of diarrhea, right? I kind of see how deep and how far back this problem goes. And so kind of for a baseline number, I'll give it maybe 3 treatments, classic TCM, needling, laser. If things aren't where I want them to be, then I'll add in the electro. Next one being eye problems. Same thing. This one is, I just use electro when it comes to digestion and tricky situations. So that would not be a question for me to be able to answer effectively. Next one, I thought S meant silver sedating, but it means stim or both. Right. So the big S means stimulating, right, Dr. Adrian? And then there's like a little I or S, is it a little SI that means silver?
Yeah, the SI is for silver, GO is for gold, and the big S is for stimulating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was confusing for me too. I always thought that. I thought that you were stimulating when you were searching for the points. But yeah, the big S means you're stimulating.
And the big M, just to make it clear, because this it took a long time for me to understand this, and so here it is in one sentence. The big M means measuring, which we would call point locating, and the big S means stimulating. And this device does 2 things: it measures or it stimulates. And so if you're looking at M, you're looking at parameters for what's going to happen when you measure, and if you're looking at S, you're looking at parameters for when you stim.
Yeah. Perfect. And when I'm doing these treatments, usually I'm just in stim mode because the points that AccuGraph brings up are quite simple points to point locate. I have no problem with it. It's more of the ear where they're just all close together and it's kind of hard to see what's happening. That's when I use the M or the point location part of it. Can any of your techniques work on limbs that have no sensation? Yeah, I would be mindful to keeping it nice and low so you're not going to be zapping them when they can't feel it. But yeah, I have a couple of patients that are like this and it's been fantastic. How long do you apply the laser at each point? So 5 to 10 seconds or longer. So usually I say about the electro is more 5 to 10, and then for my laser, it's more of like that 10 to 15 if I can. When I have little babies crawling around, running around, if I can get 5 seconds in, I'm happy. But for a sitting still adult person, I would say more 10 to 15 seconds per point per side. And then what lasers do I use? I use the Meridiatech ones. The link is in the chat. Link for handout, that should also be in the chat eventually, I think. Link to the notes, yep. With the Accutron, can I dial in the frequencies?
Um, I assume that's for me then.
Yes.
I think you can. It's been years since I've worked with an Accutron, and I don't recall how specific it can get and what frequencies it can do. So yes, you can set them, but I don't know if it'll do all those Reininger frequencies or not.
Perfect.
Sorry, I don't know.
Um, does the Pointo Select work on body points with obese patients or laser? So with the points I was talking about, the tonification and sedation points, they're usually always around like the wrist and the ankles, those kind of bonier areas. So I've had no problem. Also, that probe goes in, what is it, about an inch, Adrian, I would say?
Mm-hmm.
About an inch. So I haven't had any problems with my demographic of people with like their body fat percentage. I haven't had an issue with it. Have you heard anything, Adrian?
No.
No, I don't think it'd be any issue. Same thing with laser. Laser penetrates quite deep. So again, and Yes, there's fat tissue there, but the actual acupuncture points, they aren't that deep. So most of the time you can get to them no problem. And Mark, how long do you use the laser in each point? That's all that 10 to 15 seconds. They can see the chat, they can see the chat. And you treat patients once per week. Yeah, usually. Um, yeah, very rarely will I see them more than once a week. I like to do kind of more of like the slow and steady approach. So yeah, once a week seems to be kind of my go-to. Unless it's for fertility, then I usually will see them a couple times around ovulation. Used Point of Select to get the hearing back from a lady who lost her hearing in 2 weeks. And after a protocol for loss of hearing, she got her hearing back. She and doctors were stunned by the effect. Wow, that is very incredible. And I believe that, like that is the miracles that can happen from the type of medicine that we practice. Okay. Is needling truly more effective than laser or electro in those patients who can tolerate it without sympathetic lockup? So everyone's going to have a different perspective on this. I really like laser. I am like a go-to laser person. I find that I love light therapy. And so I would say that laser is the most effective. But again, different people and different perspectives with that. What do you think for that one, Adrian?
Um, I use what the patient wants, likes, and expects. Uh, so when patients want needles because they don't feel like they're getting a treatment if they didn't get poked with a needle, then I'm absolutely needling them. When you have
Yeah.
patients that are needle phobic, on the other hand, and it took an act of will to even come to see you, then I'm not going to come at them with a needle. I'm going to use laser or electro.
Yeah.
But aside from that patient preference, I like electro and I like laser because of how fast and effective they are. You can do in 15 seconds what a needle might take 30 minutes to do. So if I'm in a situation where the patient is going to, they're good to sit and relax for 20, 30 minutes and retain needles, I'll needle them. If they need to get out the door, they're getting laser or electro or
Yeah,
both.
absolutely. Yeah. And same thing for kids. There is no way I can get needles in kids for the duration that I need them. So doing the laser, 5 seconds on a point, there they have a full treatment. It's awesome. How do I get an accugraph? Okay, well, I'm sure we could have Jenny or Nick reach out to you and get that sorted for you, Lisa.
Just hit acugraph.com, ACU. There's one C in it, acugraph.com. You can check it out there or reach out to us. There's live chat on our website right there, and we'll get you hooked up.
Yeah. I think the last question is, are lasers contraindicated in pacemakers? What do you feel like, Doctor? I don't think so. No.
Not at all, not at all, because lasers don't put out any electricity. They put out light.
Yeah.
And, with pacemakers, the concern is electricity electrically interfering with the electronics in the pacemaker. Light isn't going to be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think this is the last one, and you charge same price regardless of needles versus lasers. Yes, absolutely. I am a very big chatter, and so patients aren't in and out my door like cattle. We spend a lot of time, it's one-on-one, we do a graph, we talk. There's something very therapeutic about people just being in your presence and speaking and having someone listen. And so, yeah, same price regardless of needles or lasers. How about e-stim with the pacemaker is a question.
Yeah, now there's a different consideration there. And if you are doing e-stim and a patient has an implanted medical device, so a pacemaker, cochlear implants, things like that, generally e-stim is contraindicated, not because it's likely to do harm. If they've got, say, a pacemaker that's implanted in their chest or in their abdomen and you're treating on the feet, not likely you're going to do any damage. But if there is a problem, even months down the road, you could get blamed. And so, unfortunately, the best thing to do if they've got a pacemaker, clear it with the cardiologist. I just today, literally today, had a company that does cochlear implants reach out to us and said, one of our users of our implants wants to receive treatment using this device called Accugraph. What does it do? And so we had an electrical conversation to clear that with the engineers at the cochlear implant company. And that way they're satisfied, we're satisfied. So reach out to whoever, either the cardiologist, or if it's a different kind of implant, the company, and make sure you get it cleared and get it in writing.
absolutely. Yeah, all the links I think should be there. And then I think maybe Jenny's emailing the links tomorrow, the links emailed.
Yeah, and I did put up links. So if you look in the chat, there's a link to Dr. Kenzi's handout. Thank you for making the handout for us.
Awesome.
And also a link to the slides, which was very kind of you. So just scroll up in the chat if you're not seeing that, and then there's a link to lasers, point of select, and so on. So everything should be there, and we'll make sure that they're linked on the replay page as well.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, great job. Thanks everyone for attending. Frederick says, Adrian, please do more baby steps. We're working on it. We're excited for our next one coming up that we'll be announcing this week. And meanwhile, thank you all for being here. Dr. Kenzi, great job as usual. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for all the good you're doing.
Yes,
Everybody,
someone already ordered their lasers. Perfect.
love it.
My
All
lasers,
right,
good.
we'll get those right out. Well, everybody, we wish you all the best. Meanwhile, get out there and do all the good you can. Keep helping people and blessing lives, and we will see you at the next baby steps.
Awesome. Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Dr. Kenzi. Thank you.